Imagine what Minecraft Bedrock Edition would look like today if featured servers never existed. Think about if every server was on their own and didn't get the benefit of being at the top of the featured servers list. What would the Minecraft Bedrock server scene look like? How different would it be from what we have today? Would we even see the same servers that exist now, like the Hive, Cubecraft, and Galaxite? Or would we have completely different servers? In this video, I'm gonna take a deeper dive into this question and speculate about a Minecraft Bedrock Edition without featured servers. Interested? Let's get started. Alright, so before all of this, I think we need to have a little bit of a history lesson and go back to a time before featured servers existed. Back when the way that you heard about servers was by word of mouth, either through YouTube or online discussion. You didn't just stumble across servers in the Minecraft client. Back when every server was on their own, no help from Microsoft, and servers like the Hive, Cubecraft, and Galaxite didn't even exist yet, at least on Bedrock Edition. But let's take a look back. Before featured servers existed, the largest server by far was Lifeboat, and it had almost always been that way. Throughout 2015 and 2016, Lifeboat broke the player count record for a Minecraft server multiple times, even beating out some of the largest Java servers like Mineplex and Hypixel. It's crazy to look back and see just how dominant they were back in the days where featured servers didn't exist yet. Also pretty popular in the days before featured servers were InPvP, the predecessors to Mineville and Pixel Paradise. Back then, they were more of a minigames server, having things like survival games, block hunt, and Skywars, and they did quite well for themselves being an alternative to Lifeboat. I had a lot of difficulty trying to find InPvP's player counts from before featured servers existed, but from what I remember, and take this with a grain of salt, they were pretty much the second largest Pocket Edition server at that time. Some other honorable mentions from before featured servers existed were Mineplex, which had a decent Pocket Edition server, and believe it or not, Hypixel. Now keep in mind that the Hypixel server was actually just an alpha, basically to test what running a Pocket Edition server would be like and if people would even want to play on it. Still, according to Hypixel, during that alpha, they managed to peak at over 20,000 concurrent players. There are countless other servers that were relatively notable at the time as well, but during Minecon 2017, Minecraft finally announced that they were going to have featured servers, with the first three being Lifeboat, InPvP, and Mineplex, and that there were going to be more coming in the future as well. Here's a snippet of the trailer that announced it.
From survival games on InPvP, to turf wars on Mineplex, from bed wars on Lifeboat, to island games on Cubecraft, and introducing Death Run on the Hive. One team, the players of Minecraft, set out to do the impossible.
But let's rewind and say that this trailer never existed, and that Microsoft never worked out the deals with any of these servers, and that today the only way that you could connect to a server was by adding a server to your servers list. It's finally time to answer the question of what Minecraft Bedrock would be like if featured servers never existed. Well, I feel like the obvious answer is that Lifeboat would probably still be the most popular Bedrock Edition server. I say this because the only reason that they've been, for lack of a better term, dethroned is because of better servers like the Hive and Cubecraft becoming Bedrock featured servers. But with no competition, I just don't see Lifeboat dropping off, especially since they were hitting player counts like 50 to 60,000 concurrent players. There are a couple of arguments against this though. The first one is, well, couldn't Cubecraft and the Hive just make their own Bedrock or Pocket Edition servers without them being featured? And while yes, that is true, from asking the staff team of both servers, both of them had dabbled in Bedrock Edition before featured servers became a thing, but that was just experimental and neither of them had any concrete plans to make a Bedrock Edition server before featured servers were a thing. Judging by things that both of them have said though, I think it can be reasonably assumed that neither of them would have ended up making a Bedrock server if it weren't for featured servers. There just wouldn't have been enough incentive for them to. The second argument against Lifeboat being the biggest server though, is that there's a chance that a different server could have overtaken them. I mean, like I said earlier, both InPvP and Mineplex were fairly sizable servers at the time, and while Hypixel Pocket Edition shut down 2 months before featured servers were announced, they were still a decently sized server at the time. There's definitely a world where Mineplex or InPvP could have improved themselves enough to take over Lifeboat's spot as the #1 Bedrock Edition server, and that's also a possibility as well. But on the topic of servers improving themselves, I feel like it's also worth considering what the quality of Minecraft Bedrock Edition servers would be like if featured servers never existed. I feel like this can go one of two ways, and I'm honestly not sure which. On one hand, you might have just not really seen any improvement by servers at all. If there's no incentive by Minecraft in the form of being promoted to the hundreds hundreds of thousands of players who check out the featured servers menu every day, the servers might not really see a reason to distinguish themselves from the other ones. I mean, you have to remember that back at this time, there were a few full server crews like Mineplex, Lifeboat, and to an extent InPvP, and then the rest of the servers for the most part were just teams of 2 or 3 devs. It's going to be really difficult to do things like custom models, brand new game modes, and high quality art, and on smaller servers, you most certainly didn't see that stuff. But on the complete other hand, you could also see a server like Lifeboat, Mineplex, or InPvP become the next Hypixel, but on Bedrock Edition. I don't think a lot of people realize just how much Hypixel has innovated the Minecraft server scene as a whole, having new game modes and updates constantly, and having a server that works well 99.9% of the time. I mean, even now with featured servers, it can be confidently said that there's not a Hypixel level server on Bedrock Edition, and so I think it's a relatively low chance that it would happen if there weren't featured servers, but I still think it's a definite possibility that it could happen. Another thing to consider though with how Pocket Edition servers were run back in the day is that they didn't have Minecoins. They all just used their own websites or apps for people to be able to buy things in game, and this led to some problems. You gotta remember that these were the days before the Minecraft EULA existed, which was basically the thing that said, hey, you can't make your Minecraft servers pay to win. I'm confident that this would have became a thing regardless of if featured servers existed or not, but judging by how selectively it seems to be enforced now, I think there's a non-zero chance that you might still see VIP and VIP Plus kits on Lifeboat if any of the OGs remember what I'm talking about. But regardless, payment on Minecraft Pocket Edition servers was a mess back then. Like I said, basically every server either had their own website or app where you could buy stuff for the server, and I remember multiple instances of just nothing working or people getting scammed or whatever. Look, as much as people give Minecraft Bedrock Edition flack for having a premium currency in the form of Minecoins now, I feel like it's a way better system than what we had in the past. Just the trust and a guarantee that it'll work makes the system way better for me, in my opinion. On the contrary though, the Minecoin system has also contributed to some pretty bad things for Bedrock Edition featured servers as well. At this point, we all know how bad Pixel Paradise and Mineville are, and the fact that Microsoft is essentially incentivizing these servers to continue doing it shows the problems with it. I mean, you basically never saw pay to play when featured servers didn't exist, and I feel like the only reason why Pixel Paradise and Mineville are still around is because of pay to play being incentivized by Minecoins. If anything, I think if we never had featured servers, a lot of them would probably end up taking the Hypixel approach to currency. They have their own currency called gold, and it's basically their own type of Minecoin. You can buy most things on the server with it, and for the most part, it circumvents Minecraft's rules about pay to win. I bet that if featured servers didn't exist, you'd probably see that type of thing happening on a lot of the larger servers that had more of a reputation to upkeep. Regardless, I think that if Minecraft Bedrock Edition featured servers never existed, we'd see a lot different of a Minecraft Bedrock than what we have today. The servers might not be up to the same standard of quality as what we have right now, but they'd also probably have a little bit more of that homey and non-corporate feel. You also might see the servers geared more towards mobile players and less towards console and PC, just because I think featured servers have been a big part of integrating consoles and computers into the Minecraft Bedrock Edition landscape. Speaking of mobile though, there was actually a big update for Minecraft Pocket Edition recently, and I'd recommend checking out the video that just showed up on your screen if you'd like to learn more about that. Either way, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.